Hey guys, tonight we journey into a world you think you know, but trust me, you don't. You've heard the fairy tales. You've seen the crowns, the castles, the glittering gowns. You've imagined the grand halls, the feasts, the romance. But what if I told you that being a medieval princess wasn't a dream? It was often more of a cold, lonely, dangerous assignment. Before we get started, take a second to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what time it is where you are right now. I love seeing which part of the world you're falling asleep in. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum. Let your shoulders relax, and let's slip together into tonight's story. Tonight's journey, what princess life was really like in medieval times. You may be picturing ball gowns and glitter, but this isn't Disney. This is medieval Europe, a place where royal daughters were born into power, but not freedom, where your title meant you were worth something, but only as a bargaining chip. A bride to be traded, a womb to be monitored, a life to be controlled. You might live in a castle, yes, but the stones are cold, the windows are drafty, and your food isn't always fresh. You have servants, yes, but they watch you more than they help. You wear jewels, yes, but they don't make the headaches go away. And they certainly don't make childbirth safer. So tonight, you'll wake up not as a peasant, but as a princess. A life that may sound softer, but isn't. You'll wake in your silk-lined bed. You'll hear whispers outside your chamber. You'll eat what they bring you, wear what they choose, and speak only when it suits your father's alliances. You'll be taught to read, but only certain things. You'll be taught to sew, to pray, to smile without showing your teeth. You'll be warned what happens if you displease the wrong man, and you'll be reminded over and over that your life is not your own. But still, you will endure, because in the halls of power, survival takes a different shape, and not every princess waits to be rescued. Some learn to wait, some learn to scheme, and some learn that silence is its own kind of weapon. So take a breath. Let go of the fairy tale. Tonight, you won't need a glass slipper. You'll need patience. You'll need sharp eyes. And you'll need to keep your hands folded just right, even when your whole life feels like a performance. Let's travel back to the candle-lit halls, the embroidered cushions, the cold rooms filled with courtly secrets and silent expectations. Let's wake up as a medieval princess. Your eyes open slowly. Before you even move, you feel the weight of the blankets heavy, layered, embroidered. Too warm in some places, cold in others. You're lying not on straw, but on a feather-stuffed mattress, covered in silks and linens stitched by hands not your own. You are a princess. And it is winter. The room is dim. The only light slips through the high-stained glass windows-colored beams that scatter across the stone walls like soft bruises. The fire in the hearth is low, a bed of coals still glowing orange. A log cracks, echoing faintly off the vaulted ceiling. You don't stretch. You don't sich. You don't roll over. You lie perfectly still, because someone is already watching you. From the moment you opened your eyes, you are no longer alone. Your chambermaid stands nearby, quiet as a shadow. She's been there since before dawn, instructed not to disturb you, but also not to leave you unattended, not even in sleep. You blink once. That's the signal. She steps forward and pulls back the canopy curtain. The air is cold on your face. Your nose prickles. You shiver slightly. The fire didn't reach every corner of your chamber, and the windows, though beautiful, are thin and drafty. Glass is expensive. Only a few castles even have it, but it does little to keep the chill out. Your bed is carved oak, decorated with lions and lilies. The headboard towers over you like a cathedral door. Every part of it, from the silk canopy to the linen sheets, is a display of status, a message. But comfort, that was never the point. You sit up, slowly. The chambermaid steps in and wraps a robe around your shoulders. Heavy velvet, dark blue, embroidered cuffs. Your fingers disappear into the folds. Your breath fogs the morning air. From beyond the door, you hear movement, boots on stone. The shifting of servants preparing the household. You are not to go to them. They come to you. Another maid enters with a basin of steaming water. She curtsies deeply before placing it on the table. Steam curls upward. You lean toward it instinctively. Warmth is rare and precious. She helps you wash hands, face, neck. Your skin stings a little from the rough linen cloth. There is no soap, just scented water infused with lavender and rose. Your fingers are red from cold. You don't wash yourself. You don't brush your own hair. These tasks are done to you, not by you. It is not indulgence. It is control. From the moment you wake, your body is not your own. You are brushed, plaited, laced. Silks are draped over your shoulders. Woolen stockings are pulled up your legs. A shift, then a gown. Then the girdle, embroidered and heavy. You are sculpted into your day. Not once do you dress for comfort. Everything is chosen for presentation. The neckline must be modest, unless a foreign ambassador is visiting. The sleeves must show your status, unless mourning is required. Your colors must reflect your family, never your mood. You are painted in fabric, a walking message. And when the final ribbon is tied, you are complete. But you are also exhausted. You haven't even left your chamber. The room around you, it's beautiful, but cold. The walls are stone, hung with tapestries that do more to impress than insulate. Scenes of saints, battles, hunts, stitched over months by women who sat hunched and silent, pouring their fingers into threadwork that would never carry their names. The ceiling arches above like a cathedral vault, soot darkened from years of fire smoke. The windows are narrow, colourful, and meant to be admired, not opened. Your chamber is not just your bedroom. It is your world. You sleep here. You read here. You receive visitors here, carefully selected, closely monitored. You are watched, always. The maid who helped you dress will report how you looked this morning, if you coughed, if you frowned, if you muttered in your sleep. There is a small writing desk. You may write letters supervised. A book of hours sits nearby, your prayer book, your required reading. Sometimes you open it and let your eyes wander across the illustrations, saints with golden halos, martyrs with calm expressions, even as they burn. You wonder if they were bored too. You've never left this castle alone. You've never walked through the market without guards. You've never once said, "I think I'll go out for a walk." You are protected, yes, but you are also imprisoned, and you know the difference. The silence of privilege. The servants speak only when spoken to. Your companions, daughters of lesser nobles, chatter lightly, but never freely. They don't ask you how you feel. They don't joke about your hair being tangled or your dress pinching your ribs. They are here to observe, to repeat, to marry well by behaving properly. You too must behave. Always. You sit, hands folded, back straight, voice calm, eyes lowered unless addressed. You do not run. You do not shout. You do not cry. Your emotions are folded into you like layers of linen beneath your gown, hidden, bound, contained, because you are a princess. And princesses are not allowed to feel, only to appear. The castle is stirring now. You can hear the bells in the chapel tower, a soft metallic call that echoes through cold halls and thick stone walls. Morning prayer has begun. You don't go. Not yet. Not until you've been prepared. Your day must begin with cleanliness, not because your body is sacred, but because your body is political. A princess must be polished. A princess must be presentable. You are cleanliness as symbolism, as diplomacy, as asset, and so it begins. The wash. There is no running water in your chamber, no sink, no pipe, no plumbing of any kind. Everything must be carried in by servants who are careful not to make noise, careful not to let steam fog the window glass. A copper basin is placed before you, filled with warm water. Not hot, just warm enough not to sting when it touches your skin. You sit on a low stool near the hearth. One maid unlaces your sleeves. Another unwraps your hair slowly, reverently, like they're unboxing a relic. Your arms are washed with lavender water. Your neck, your hands, your feet. That's it. A full bath is rare, a luxury, and often a risk. You've only had 2 in the last month. Even royals fear the dangers of overwashing, of weakened constitution, of evil spirits slipping in through warm pores. When you do bathe, it's in a wooden tub lined with cloth and placed near the fire. Buckets of water are heated one at a time. The room fills with steam and the scent of rosemary. You are helped in, held carefully, scrubbed with soft linen and herb paste. The process is long, embarrassing, vulnerable. So instead, you make do with the daily partial wash, carefully wiping away sweat, dust, and yesterday's powder from your face. Hair. The crown beneath the crown. Your hair is your pride, your curse. It must be perfect, braided, perfumed, wrapped in ribbons or coiled beneath a headdress, depending on who you might see today. It takes an hour, sometimes more. You sit perfectly still as your maid parts, combs, oils, and braids. If you twitch, she might pull too hard. If you sigh, she might tighten the ribbon to punish you. If you complain, the word might make it back to your mother, or worse, to the court. So you don't complain. You just sit, still, obedient, decorated. A tiara will come later, not jewels, but a circlet of embroidered cloth or a finely woven wimple. Something to show your status, your chastity, your purpose. You do not choose. It is chosen for you. Perfume and powder. You don't wear makeup. Not exactly, but your skin is powdered lightly to create paleness. Paleness means refinement. Paleness means you don't work. Paleness means you are worthy. Crushed pearl mixed with rosewater is dabbed onto your cheeks, a small dab of amber resin behind your ears. Your nails are buffed, not painted. Your lips are left bare, unless you're sick, in which case a balm made of beeswax and saffron is used, mostly for show. You are now clean, or at least clean enough to be seen. Morning meal. Not a feast. You're hungry. But hunger is not something you acknowledge. Your breakfast is brought to your chamber. You do not eat with the servants. You do not eat in the great hall, not yet. This is your private meal. A tray of white bread, the finest flour, sifted and milled at great expense. A dish of soft cheese, likely made from sheep's milk. A boiled egg, cooled to room temperature. Some dried fruits, figs, dates, plums, imported, costly, probably more valuable than the chambermaid's monthly wage. And a silver cup of spiced wine or herbal infusion, something warm, something with cinnamon or clove, something to wake your body without reminding you of the cold world outside your windows. You eat with a knife and your fingers. There are no forks yet not in your region. They exist somewhere in the courts of Byzantium, but here, still suspicious, too foreign, too strange. You chew slowly, not because you're savoring, but because eyes are on you. Always, a princess does not gobble. She does not slout. She does not ask for more. Even if she's still hungry, she takes only what is needed and leaves the rest untouched, proof of restraint, of breeding, of worth. Your stomach is never quite full, not ever. The toilet a royal inconvenience. When nature calls, your options are limited. There is no bathroom. There is a garderobe, a small chamber off to the side, built into the outer wall of the castle. A wooden seat, a hole, a long drop into the moat or a cesspit. It smells. Not always strongly, the cold helps, but enough to remind you that royalty does not mean cleanliness. You hold your breath. You go quickly. You don't talk about it. Servants clean it later with lye, ash, and pine branches. You thank them only with silence. There is linen. You use it. It is washed eventually. You return to your room, and your chambermaid helps you back into your day gown. Nothing about this is luxurious. It's controlled, clinical, rehearsed. You sit by the window now, hands folded. You are fed. You are dressed. You are clean. And yet, you've never felt less like a person. You are a symbol. And the day hasn't even begun. You are a princess. You are dressed accordingly. But dressed how, exactly? Let's take a closer look. Layers upon layers. You don't just throw on a gown and call it royal. Your clothing is constructed step by meticulous step. First, a linen shift. Light, plain, and close to the skin. It's the only layer that's washed regularly. Everything else, rarely. The shift protects your outer garments from you from sweat, skin, and winter's creeping damp. It is the first line of defense in a world with no deodorant, no dry cleaning, and no detergent. Next, stockings. Wool. Tied at the knee with braided bands. They sag. Always. You feel them slip as you move, but you learn not to fidget. A princess does not tug. A princess endures. Then, the kirtle, a long gown, sleeved and fitted to your torso, laced tight, pulled snug. If you are lucky, it was made to your measurements. If not, it pinches in all the wrong places and gaps in the ones that matter. There is no such thing as comfort tailoring. On top of that, the surcoat. This is the outer layer, a gown of status. Rich in fabric, deep in colour, sometimes lined with fur, sometimes edged in embroidery. The sleeves may be long enough to touch the floor. The neckline may be high and stiff. The fabric rustles when you move, not gently, but like something expensive arguing with the air. The effect is striking, regal, but it weighs as much as a small child. There is no freedom in it, only presence. Hair bound and displayed. Your hair is now braided, wrapped, pinned, and veiled, depending on your age and marital status. If you are unmarried, your hair may be worn long, but braided, perhaps adorned with a circlet or ribbons. This signals chastity, availability, and lineage. If you are betrothed or married, it is more restrained, covered, managed. If you are in mourning, veiled entirely. A lady's hair is her virtue. Letting it down is not fashion, it's scandal. You learn not to run your fingers through it, not to brush it in public, not to let the wind take it. Your beauty is your family's currency. You are responsible for keeping it sealed and spotless. Jewels and the lack thereof. People imagine princesses draped in hymns. The truth is more complicated. Yes, you might have a pendant, a ring, maybe a brooch passed down from your mother. But real jewels are heirlooms, locked away, worn only on feast days or formal portraits. You don't drape yourself in treasure. You are the treasure. Your jewelry is borrowed. Your gown may not even be yours. You wear it on behalf of your house, your father, your lineage, your future husband's ambitions. Nothing touches your skin without meaning. A green stone may suggest fertility. A white veil suggests purity. A golden girdle hints at wealth, obedience, and marital readiness. It's not an outfit, it's a message, and you carry it everywhere. Shelter, the castle. Now let's step back, out of your gown, out of your chamber. Let's look at where you live, because yes, you live in a castle, but that doesn't mean it's comfortable. Cold, the stone walls are thick, impressive, impenetrable. They are also ice boxes. In winter, the chill seeps through even the tightest mortar. You can feel it under your feet, in your breath, in your spine. The fireplaces help. Tapestries help. Fur pelts help. But they don't stop it. You never leave your chamber without layers, not for modesty, but for survival. Dark. Candles are expensive. Oil is precious. Glass is rare. Your world is mostly shadows, flickering firelight on stone walls, long corridors with arrow slits for windows, heavy doors that creak when opened. The great hall might have tall windows, yes, but your rooms, your corridors, your staircases, dim, always. You don't go anywhere alone after sunset. Not because you're afraid of ghosts, because you're afraid of real people. The wrong glance, the wrong step, and your virtue becomes a whisper, then a rumor, then a problem. So you move in the light, or not at all. Damp. Moisture is everywhere, in your clothes, in your bedding, in the corners of your chamber where the wall meets the floor and the air smells faintly of moss and wet wool. You keep herbs near your bed to fight the scent. You hang seherts under your skirts, but still the cold creeps in. You know what it's like to sleep wrapped in fox fur and still wake with aching joints. You know what it's like to have a bedchamber that smells like rain, even though the roof is intact. This is not a fairy tale castle. It's a damp, drafty fortress, and you live in it like a jewel in a locked box. Privacy A. Foreign concept. Your chamber is yours, but you're never alone. There is always a servant, always a companion, always a door left slightly ajar in case your mother, your nurse, or your tutor wishes to check in. Your letters are read. Your belongings are inventoried. Your face is watched. There are no locked diaries. There is no time to be unguarded. Even your dreams feel rehearsed. You have no space to collapse, no room to scream, not even a corner to cry in without it becoming tomorrow's gossip. You are wrapped in velvet and silence. The princess within. People think princesses are pampered, that they eat grapes and wave from balconies and dance in sunlit courtyards. And yes, you do dance, but only when told, and always in the right shoes. Your life is beauty without comfort, power without autonomy, luxury without freedom. And your clothing, your home, all of it reminds you. You belong to a world that shapes you, not one that hears you. But still you walk tall. You endure the cold, the weight, the silence. Because that's what you were born to do. You were born to be seen, not heard, not free. Just seen. It's now mid-morning. You've been dressed, fed, scrubbed. Your hair is pinned, your face powdered, your hands washed until they're soft and cold. Now begins your real job, the part no one ever calls work, but which consumes every moment of your life. Being watched, being perfect, being valuable. You are a princess, which means your day is not spent surviving the cold or chasing goats across frozen fields. It is spent surviving expectation. Work without tools. A peasant's tools are shovels, carts, and knives. Yours are a practiced smile, a bowed head, a well-timed silence, and above all, your reputation. You were born into a role. You are not your own. You are your father's daughter, your kingdom's pawn, your family's future alliance. Everything you do, every word, every pause, every stitch, every bite is a performance. And if you fail at it, it's not just you who suffers. Your entire house may pay the price. Morning duties. You sit in a solar, the warmest, sunniest chamber in the castle. Often on the upper floor, you are surrounded by women aunts, cousins, noble companions, all of them quiet, diligent, and, like you, constantly pretending not to be exhausted. You are not idle. You are not lounging. You are working. Needlework is your primary task. You embroider cushions, altar cloths, sleeves. you mend. You stitch family crests into banners. Sometimes you embroider prayers in Latin, not because you read it fluently, but because someone told you what it says. Your fingers ache, your back stiffens. You sit on a stool with no cushion for hours, stitching roses onto sleeves that you may never wear. This is not a hobby. It is part of your training. A princess must be skilled, silent, and good, with her hands not to build, but to decorate. Sometimes you read, but not freely. You're given approved texts, usually scripture, poetry, or tales of saints and queens who suffered beautifully. They never scream, they never resist, they never ask, why? You try to be like them, you fail silently. The labor of being seen. You are summoned often to walk in the garden with a chaperone, to appear in the chapel in full dress, with perfect posture, to stand beside your mother as she greets visitors, noble women, merchants, diplomats. You are not expected to speak much. You are expected to smile, to look serene, to be watched and remembered. Because one day, one of these men or their sons might be your husband. You are being displayed. It is not called this. They call it social refinement, graceful development, the shaping of a future queen. But it's a marketplace, and you are the merchandise. Physical labor of a different kind. There are other duties. You must learn to dance court dances, slow and measured, not for joy, not for rhythm, but for appearance. A princess who dances poorly is a princess whose body might not bear children properly. Or worse, a princess who might embarrass her husband at court. So you dance, rehearse, memorize the step. Even though your shoes are too tight, and the hall is too cold, and your tutor has no patience, you also ride side saddle, of course, never alone, never fast. Your back must remain straight, your ankles hidden, your demeanor graceful, even on a horse that doesn't like you. Sometimes you practice the harp or the lute. You sing hymns, but softly. You are told not to be too loud, too joyful. It's unseemly. Everything is carefully controlled. You are not raised to be expressive. You are raised to be appropriate. The labor of fertility. There is another kind of work you've already begun, whether you realize it or not. Your body is being prepared, and more disturbingly observed. You are watched for signs of growth, of readiness, of womanhood. Your mother has begun speaking to you about marriage, about duty, about what a wife does, not with joy, but with ritual. Like a grim script she learned long ago, your sheets are checked for blood, your appetite is noted, your complexion commented on. You are being groomed, not like a bride choosing her moment, but like a field being inspected for planting. You know what's coming, a marriage, a contract, children, and you also know the dangers. You've seen your cousin sent away at 13, belly swollen at 14, buried at 15. She died in childbirth. A princess, like you. They say she died nobly. You wonder if that's supposed to be comforting. Survival in the palace. You don't starve. You don't freeze, but you do suffocate. The walls are high. The rules are higher. And your future is already written not by you, but for you. To survive, you learn restraint. You fold your hands until the knuckles ache. You smile until your jaw locks. You hide your books of poems under your mattress. You write letters you don't send. You say yes when you want to scream. You survive, but it is not easy. Your life looks effortless, but it is labor every second, and no one applauds you for it. The bells ring again, deeper this time. Midday prayer. You close your embroidery book and stand. Automatically, your ladies rise behind you, smooth their skirts, and follow without a word. No one speaks during the walk to chapel. They don't need to. Everyone knows the routine. You are a princess, but not above the church, not even close. In fact, your status makes your relationship with God even more fragile, because the higher you are on earth, the more carefully heaven watches you, and the farther you might fall. The chapel, it's within the castle walls, small, cold, beautiful. Stone columns rise like tree trunks. Candles flicker in iron holders. The altar is draped in white and gold. A single stained glass window filters pale light onto the cold flagstones. You kneel on a cushion. You cross yourself. You bow your head. The priest begins the prayer. Latin, measured, familiar. You whisper it by heart, though you barely know what the words mean. Pater noster qui es en celi. You are not encouraged to understand. You are encouraged to submit. Understanding is for the clergy. Obedience is for you. Your father, the king, may appoint bishops and negotiate with abbots, but even he kneels here. Even he confesses. Even he pays the church, because the church owns your soul, and no crown can change that. Your role as a woman of God, you are taught to be pious, but never learn. You are given a book of hours, lavishly illustrated, with saints and martyrs glowing in gold leaf. You're expected to read it daily, to memorize the Psalms, to reflect on the virtues of purity, patience, and divine suffering. You know the stories well. Street Margaret, swallowed by a dragon, and split it open with the cross she carried. Street Cecilia, martyred for her refusal to marry, her head half severed but her faith untouched. The Virgin Mary, quiet, obedient, chosen. These are your examples. Not queens, not warriors. Women who suffered beautifully and died obediently. You're reminded often your highest purpose is to emulate Mary, to be mild, silent, and full of grace. Your confessor warns you of pride, of vanity, of disobedience, the first sin. Your tutor reminds you that Eve was the first to fall, that women must carry that shame forever. You nod, you agree, you feel something twist in your stomach, but you never say what you're thinking. Fear, superstition, and the unknown. For all the ritual, all the rules, all the priests and parchment and polished doctrine, you are still afraid. Because beneath the Latin and the lace, the medieval world still hums with superstition. You are told to pray, but you are also told, don't look in a mirror after dark. Don't speak a name out loud too many times. Don't open the window if you hear 3 knocks and no voice. You've seen women blamed for stillbirths, whispered to be witches. You've seen villagers punished for inviting evil by planting herbs the wrong way. You've heard of noble women losing everything because their child was born with a crooked limb. The church may offer salvation, but fear offers faster answers. So you light candles on feast days. You carry a charm, a bone fragment said to belong to a saint. You fast when instructed. You give offerings when you're scared. You cross yourself when passing the chapel, even when no one's looking, because you never know what's listening, and you never know when heaven might turn its face away. Holy days and rituals. The calendar shapes your year. You fast during Lent. No meat, no eggs, no butter. You kneel through Advent in silence. You prepare for Easter with long, dim masses that test your patience and your knees. On feast days, you dress in white. Your hair is braided with pearls. You walk in slow processions behind the priest, clutching a silver cross, your eyes low. Sometimes there's joy music, incense, colored banners. Other times, just long silence, and a reminder that suffering is sacred. You've seen corpses laid in the chapel, royal ones dressed in state, with waxen faces and folded hands. You're told to look, to remember. This is what we all become. Even princesses. You don't cry. You bow. You never ask why some children live and others die. You never ask why God needs so much pain to prove a point. You simply say, "Thy will be done," even when it isn't your will at all. Your marriage is God's will. One day, soon, you'll be married. You won't choose him. You'll be given to him like a gift, like a truce, like a strategy, and you'll be told this is God's plan. You must be grateful. You must be silent. You must serve, because marriage, for a princess, is not about love. It's about duty. It's about heirs. And if the husband is cruel, if the childbirth nearly kills you, if the loneliness becomes unbearable, that's your cross to carry. And women carry it quietly, because Christ suffered more, because Mary never complained, because the priest says, this is holy, and you don't argue with holiness, silent rebellion. But sometimes, in the quiet corners of your chamber, when no one is watching, you find ways to question. You read a banned poem, tucked inside your prayer book. You whisper a prayer to the moon, not the Virgin. You ask a question in confession just vague enough not to be heresy. You wonder if saints ever wanted to scream. You wonder if God ever listens to girls. You wonder what would happen if you walked into the chapel and said, I'm tired of suffering. I don't want to marry him. I want to be free. You never do. Of course not, but you think it. And that too is a kind of faith. The bells have rung. The sun has moved past its highest point. And now, the castle prepares for its grandest daily ritual, the meal. But this isn't comfort food. This isn't lounging in a robe with snacks. This is performance, a courtly ballet of plates and posture, of calculated words and carefully measured bites. You are a princess, and you eat accordingly. The great hall is vast stone walls hung with tapestries, wood-beamed ceilings stretching overhead. Light slants through high windows, catching the glint of polished cups and the gleam of silver knives. The tables are long and low, benches for guests. A raised dais at one end holds the high table reserved for your family, and at the center of it all, your place is set. A polished pewter plate, a knife with a carved handle, a cloth napkin folded with priest-like precision. Your goblet is already filled watered wine, or perhaps a weak ale if it's a feast day. You sit when your father arrives. You do not slouch. You do not fidget. Your hands rest folded in your lap. Your eyes scan the room not for danger, but for expectation. Because in this room, everything is observed. The meal begins. There is no menu. You eat what is served, and you eat it gracefully. The food arrives in stages. First, a trench of stale bread your plate onto which stewed meats or sauces may be ladled. You never eat the trench itself. It will be given to the poor or to dogs. Second, a course of meat, roasted fowl, if available. Rabbit, pigeon, or goose. Rarely beef, and never pork during religious observance. Third, a pie spiced, strange, filled with things you try not to identify. Finally, custard or dried fruits. Something sweet to close the ritual. Everything is spiced, not to impress, but to hide the taste of aging ingredients. Salt, vinegar, saffron, cloves, heavy on the tongue. You eat small bites. You chew slowly. You speak only when addressed. If your father tells a story, you laugh gently. If your mother makes a comment about court politics, you nod politely. If a knight boasts too loudly, you smile behind your goblet and look away, because your job is not to be fed. Your job is to be seen eating properly. You are a model of femininity, of grace, of decorum. You wipe your lips daintily. You never reach. You do not ask for more even if you're still hungry, especially if you're still hungry. The politics of the table. Dinner is not just nourishment. It is court in session. Everything that happens here has meaning. Who sits near the king? Who toasts first? Who is served the best cut of meat? Who offers you their goblet in a symbolic gesture of alliance? You are expected to recognize every signal and respond with elegance. If your future husband is at the table, you'll pretend not to notice him while your entire body is arranged for his gaze. You don't flirt. You suggest a glance, a lowered gaze, a shared smile over a sweetmeat. If you get it wrong too bold, too cold, it becomes talk by morning. Even at dinner, you are a chess piece. Even the food tastes like strategy, entertainment not for you. When the meal ends and the trenches are cleared and the dogs are let in to snuffle at the scraps, the entertainment begins. But it's not for your joy, not really. A minstrel might play harp, lute, flute, soft, melancholy melodies about saints and lovers and wars that happened long ago. You nod along, you smile. A fool may appear, bells jingling, voice high, cap flopping. He jests about the steward's baldness, mocks the bishop's appetite. Everyone laughs until he says something too true. Then the mood turns sharp, and you know someone will be whipped for it tomorrow. A poet reads a new verse. It's about roses or moons or the way noble women break hearts just by breathing. You are expected to blush. Not too much, just enough to make it convincing. If visiting nobles are present, there may be a dance. Not joyous, not wild. Formal, controlled, steps repeated until your ankles ache. You take the hand of whoever is assigned to you. You bow, you turn, you return to your seat. Everything is measured. Everything is watched. You are praised for your grace. You are praised for your silence. No one asks if you had fun. Your private moments. Later, after the performance ends, you are permitted to relax. Not in the modern sense, but in the medieval, carefully supervised sense of the word. You and a few chosen companions retire to the solar. You might sip warm wine. You might play a quiet game chess, perhaps, or riddles. You might read aloud from a manuscript of courtly tales. You do not drink heavily. You do not speak freely. You do not fall asleep on the rug in front of the fire. You are still on duty. But the pressure lessens slightly, and for a moment, you almost feel human, almost. The whispered laughter. If there's any joy in the day, any true joy, it comes now. In the stolen glances, in the moment your friend bumps your elbow and whispers a joke about the steward's sweaty brow. In the way the firelight softens the corners of the room, you smile, truly, not performatively, and no one sees it, which means it's yours. It starts with a cough. Not yours, not yet. One of your ladies in waiting. She's been pale lately, moving more slowly, her hands trembling as she poured your wine. Now she's absent. You ask where she's gone. No one answers. Just like that, she's gone. And the fear begins, because in a medieval castle, sickness spreads like smoke. The cold that lingers, the stone walls trap the chill. No matter how many furs you sleep beneath, no matter how many rushes are scattered on the floor, the cold lives in your bones. You've been sniffing. You felt lightheaded after rising. You've noticed a strange weight in your chest, a little slower breath. You tell no one, because in this world, illness isn't just a health issue. It's a threat to your value. A princess must be healthy, fertile, strong. She must be a bride, a mother, a symbol. If you show weakness, the marriage talks might pause, the court might whisper, the priest might visit too soon. So you hide the symptoms for as long as you can. Medicine, or what passes for it. You don't call for a physician lightly. He is a man always, trained by old books and older superstitions. He comes dressed in black with tools of ivory and brass. He smells of vinegar, sage, and dried blood. He examines you never alone, always with a chaperone, always through layers of cloth, veils, shame. His remedies? Bloodletting, a vein opened carefully to balance the humours. You are told not to faint. Purgatives, doses of herbs to force vomiting, sweating, or worse. Fumigations, burning herbs in your chambers, choking out both air and spirit. Leeches, applied to your wrists or temples, squirming like worms of judgment. Holy relics, pressed to your skin. Bones of saints, pieces of old wood. Hopes wrapped in legend. You nod, you obey. You drink the bitter draughts and pretend they help. Sometimes they do. More often, they don't. Sometimes, the only real medicine is survival and luck. The sick room, you've been there before. Not as a patient, not yet, but as an observer. A side chamber. Curtains drawn. Air heavy with incense and fear. The sick lie in silence. Some whisper prayers. Others simply stare. Their skin shines with sweat. Their fingers twitch. The healer murmurs to them. And someone, always a woman, weeps in the corner. You remember your aunt. She coughed for weeks. Then her skin turned grey. Then she stopped talking. They laid her out in the chapel before sunrise. You were told it was God's will. You nodded. You did not cry, because death is never far from this life, not even in a palace. Childbirth. The quiet terror. You haven't given birth yet, but you know what's coming. You've seen the bruised faces. You've heard the muffled screams behind chamber doors. You've seen the limp bodies carried out after the midwives fail. You've even seen a queen die, not in battle, in bed, bleeding out slowly into the same linen that once carried her wedding veil. You are told this is honorable, a noble death, a maternal sacrifice, a holy offering to God and dynasty. But all you hear is, it could be you, and it very likely will. Plague, fever, and the shadow. You've lived through one outbreak already. The plague came 2 winters ago. Servants dropped in days. The bishop fled. Your younger brother was sent to a monastery in the hills. You stayed because princesses don't run. They are kept, guarded, isolated. You remember the silence, the empty corridors, the rushes left unswept, the air full of vinegar and salt, and the sound of prayers whispered at every doorway. One morning, you found a dead pigeon at your window. You buried it yourself. You didn't tell anyone. You weren't sure if it was a sign or a warning. You still don't know. And even now, when the wind blows through the castle's highest tower, you wonder if it's carrying something with it. The priests and the last rites. If your fever worsens, the priest is summoned. He comes with oil, with a cloth, with a face that tries to look peaceful. He anoints your forehead. He whispers to your soul. He calls it comfort. You call it final. You're told not to fear death, that heaven awaits. That saints will greet you, but you don't feel ready. You haven't danced freely. You haven't seen the sea. You haven't loved, not really. And you haven't been asked what you want. The priest says, that doesn't matter. Only your soul does. So you close your eyes and let him whisper over you and pray that it's not yet time. The recovery, or the end. If you survive, you'll be changed, not just in body, but in reputation. A princess who recovers from illness is called delicate, touched by grace, solemn and wise beyond her years. But no one asks if the sickness scared you, if you begged the saints for one more day, if you promised God anything, if he'd just let you live. And if you don't survive, you'll be mourned beautifully, your body wrapped in white, your hands folded around a crucifix, your name sung in Latin, your absence written into the chronicles. But you'll be gone, and your chambermaid will be folding the linens before your body is even cold. Because life moves on, even for royalty, especially for royalty. The castle is quiet now. You sit beside your mother in the solar stitching, always stitching. She hasn't spoken in 10 minutes. She's watching the window, as if the clouds beyond it might change something. You're not allowed to ask her what's wrong, but you know, she's waiting for news from court, from your father, about your future. Your mother. The mirror and the warning. Your mother is a queen. Tall, dignified, unreadable. She never raises her voice, never lets her hair down, never contradicts the priest or the steward. And yet, beneath her silence, there is a woman who once felt what you now feel. The weight of a too tight gown, the ache of smiling at men she didn't choose, the emptiness of waiting for a child to survive the night. She doesn't say these things. She doesn't have to. You see it in the way she watches you, in the way she holds your hand too tightly before a feast, in the way her prayers are longer on the days you mention your dreams. She teaches you not with love, but with control. She corrects your posture. She tests your Latin. She reminds you that beauty fades, but a good reputation survives. And when she looks at you for too long, you wonder, does she see herself, or does she see a tool? Maybe both. Maybe that's all princesses are. Your sisters. If you have sisters, they are your shadows, your companions, your competitors. Each of you plays a part in the larger game. Your marriage is your family's treaty. Your body is your father's alliance. You braid each other's hair. You practice curtsies together. You whisper under the covers about what it might feel like to be kissed. But there's always something underneath it all, a thread of distance, because one day, one of you will marry better. One of you will be chosen. One of you will leave, and the rest will stay. And nothing ruins sisterhood faster than comparison. Children, joy, fragility, currency. There are always children in the castle, some legitimate, some not, some too small to be named. You see them in the nursery, pale and silent. You see them in the chapel, eyes wide during Mass. You hear them crying in the corridors at night, too young to know not to disturb the halls. If you are a young princess, you may still be treated as a child yourself, fussed over, restrained, denied answers. But that will change. The moment you bleed, the moment your body begins to shift shape, to suggest motherhood, everything else becomes a rehearsal, and children become your task, not playmates, not yours. Responsibilities. You are expected to produce them, to raise them from a distance, to grieve them when they die, and many of them will. You've watched your mother mourn 5, all beneath the age of 2. She did not scream, she did not shatter, she simply lit a candle, kissed your forehead, and told the midwife to try again. This is what it means to be a woman of blood and lineage. Your womb is not just part of your body. It is state property, and motherhood is not celebrated. It is expected. The royal marriage for you will come suddenly. A scroll delivered by a herald, a signature pressed into wax, a feast prepared in haste. You will not love him. You may not even know his name until a month before the wedding. He will be titled, powerful, possibly older, possibly cruel. Your opinion is not requested. Your mother will help you dress. Your sisters will braid your hair. You will walk the aisle, not as a bride, but as an offering. And you will smile, because that is what is required. You may not lie with him that night, or you may be sent to his bedchamber, immediately watched by attendants, inspected by maids. You are expected to be pure, to bleed, to conceive, and after that, you are expected to endure, no matter what. Because in marriage, love is secondary, survival is the goal. Royal children, yours and others. If you bear children, they may not stay with you. Sons go to tutors, daughters to nurses. You visit them at appointed hours, in between Mass and court. They are not yours to keep. They are heirs, bargains, hostages of lineage. And yet, when your daughter clutches your finger, when your son murmurs in his sleep, you feel something break open, something real in the middle of the performance, something dangerous, because love makes you vulnerable, and vulnerability is not safe in royal life. So you tuck it away, hide it under lace and pearls, kiss your child's forehead, and whisper a prayer the nurse won't hear. You love them quietly, fiercely, even if you're not allowed to. The men around you. Your father, he rules. He is distant, decisive, devout. He nods to you at meals, He signs your marriage contract. He thanks God when you deliver a son. He does not ask if your labor was hard. He does not attend your funerals. He simply carries on. And your brothers, they have freedom. They ride, they hunt, they speak without permission. You envy them, but you also watch them, how they treat women, how they laugh at things that would shame you, how they drink without consequence. You know what's coming. You know your future husband will likely be one of them, not your brother, but a man like him, raised to rule, raised to believe you are less, and you steel yourself. You rehearse your smiles. You prepare, because that too is part of the family life. You carry its weight. Even when it breaks you, the meal is over, the music is gone, the sun has begun its descent. Now comes the part of the day where masks tighten and tempers simmer. In the afternoon hours, the castle grows sharper, voix drop, rooms fill, whispers multiply, because this is when decisions are made, and you, as a princess, are expected to be present, but not involved, visible, but silent. The halls of politics. You walk the long corridor to the council chamber. You don't enter, of course not. That's for your father, your brothers, his advisors, the stewards and scribes. You sit in the solar nearby, pretending to read, but your ears are trained on the raised voices behind that heavy oak door. Land disputes, tithes, feudal obligations, trade with the ports, marriage contracts. Yours might be one of them. You may be offered like a letter with a wax seal passed hand to hand, never open, and later, someone will gently inform you you've been betrothed, and you will smile, because a princess who protests becomes a problem, and problems are erased. The courtiers and their games, you are surrounded, always, by people who say they love you. Ladies in waiting, who braid your hair and report your moods. Knights, who bow low but watch your every expression. Ambassadors, who flatter you with gifts you didn't ask for. Cousins and companions, whose friendship flickers like candlelight, warm one moment, cold the next. Their eyes are weapon. Their words are net. Are you feeling well today, my lady? You look a bit pale. My lord said your embroidery was finer than the Queen's herself. I heard someone requested your hand in music today. What a compliment. Every compliment is a test. Every question is a trap, because in court, your downfall could be someone else's step up. One wrong word and your reputation slips. One tear at the wrong moment and you're unstable. One laugh too loud and you're inappropriate. You learn to nod without agreeing, to smile without trusting, to compliment without feeling anything at all. You learn that silence isn't weakness, it's armor. Jealousy in velvet gloves. You're not the only princess, or the only noble daughter in the court. There are others visiting cousins, foreign guests, half-sisters from other marriages. And while the smiles are gentle, the rivalry is real. They wear their best gowns near the men who matter. They praise your talents with sweet venom. She's so graceful, especially for someone so tall. She plays well when she's not too tired, of course. You don't respond. You let the words slide past like dull arrows, but inside, you feel it. The competition, the cold, because only one of you will marry well. Only one of you will secure your family's power, and the rest will be sent off to lesser lords or into convents. So you smile, you curtsy, you bleed dignity from every pore, and you hope no one sees the trembling underneath. Punishments, subtle and sharp. No one lashes a princess in public, but that doesn't mean you can't be punished. You displease your father, you're confined to your chamber. No music, no visitors, your books removed. You speak out of turn. Your embroidery is inspected daily, your prayers doubled. You show emotion at court. Your marriage is rushed. Your attendance changed. Your confessor becomes more present. You live with the constant awareness that your behavior is a reflection not of yourself, but of your house. And the moment you step out of line, they clip your wings, quietly, politely, with a smile. You've seen it done to others. The cousin who once laughed too loudly in front of the Duke, now married to a man older than her father. The lady who refused her betrothal, now locked in a convent on a hill. For her soul, you learn quickly. Rebellion is expensive, and you can't afford it. Servants, eyes and mouths, they're always there, bringing water, cleaning hearths, stirring rushes, and always listening. You don't scold them, you don't confide in them, you treat them with perfect courtesy and never a hint of warmth, because you know, a servant who sees too much becomes a messenger. They don't mean harm, not all of them, but gossip is currency, and your name is worth a fortune. One misunderstood glance, one whispered prayer taken out of context, and by morning you're moody, or scandalous, or not quite as virtuous as she pretends, so you keep your mask on, even in your own chamber, even when you think you're alone, because in the castle you never are. The fear of shame. Above all, you fear one thing: shame. Not death, not pain, not even loneliness. Shame. Because shame follows you. It stains your name. It marks your sisters. It poisons your children before they're even born. And for a princess, shame can be born from the smallest things. A rumor, a secret meeting, a dress too low, a glance too long, a letter you didn't write, but couldn't deny. One stain, and your entire future shatters. No more reproach, no more alliance. Just a locked door, a cold bed, and a lifetime of prayers for sins you didn't commit. So you are perfect. At all times, no matter what it costs you, even if it costs you yourself. The sun has gone. The last of the golden light has drained from the windows of the castle, and your reflection fades into shadow. You are back in your chamber where silence rules, and darkness presses in like a second skin. You've been undressed, the velvet gown removed, folded, taken away, the girdle unfastened, your hair let down. You feel lighter, but not freer, because nightfall isn't peace. It's something colder, something older, something waiting. The ritual of rest. You sit at the edge of your bed. A maid brushes your hair carefully, in long strokes, each one counting out the seconds in which nothing happens, but everything weighs on you. Your underdress clings to your skin, slightly damp from the warmth of the fire. Your feet are cold, always cold. The room is lit by 2 candles, and the fading hearth. The flame flickers. The shadows move with it. You do not look into the corners. There are stories about corners. The bed is large, carved, draped, raised, but still feels like a stage, because even in sleep, you're not truly alone. Your maid dozes near the fire. Your lady-in-waiting lies on a cot by the door. Someone will check on you at midnight. Not out of care, out of control. You are a princess. Even your sleep is monitored. Sounds in the stone. You hear the low groan of the wood beams contracting in the cold. A dog barking once, then silent. The wind pushing against the shutters, testing them. Boots on stone, echoing the night guard's changing shift. A whisper. Maybe outside. Maybe not. And then nothing. Which is worse, because in the nothing, your mind begins to wander, not into dreams, but into fears. Fear of intruders. You've heard the stories of kings murdered in their beds, of jealous lords slipping knives beneath feather mattresses, of castle maids smothered for overhearing the wrong secret. You know the locks on your door mean little, not when someone really wants in, and yet sometimes you're afraid not of strangers, but of the ones you already know. A cousin who drinks too much, a knight whose smile lasts too long, a priest who touches your hand too gently during blessing. Your father has gone, but who guards you? No one. So you sleep in a high bed, near a knife, hidden beneath a prayer book, near the fire, always the fire. Because if the room goes cold, something's wrong. Fear of spirits. You've said your prayers twice, aloud, but you still feel watched. You pull the blanket tighter. You check the window. You glance toward the door. The chapel boys whisper of wandering souls, of women who died in childbirth, of girls who never received last rites, of children buried without name. They walk, they say, at night, through stone halls, looking for warmth, looking for peace. You don't believe it. Not really. But you still hang the iron cross over your bed. You still avoid sleeping facing the door. You still whisper, Jesu mercy, before you close your eyes. Just in case. Because even princesses get scared. And some things no status can protect you from. Fear of dreams. Sleep comes slowly, and when it does, it's rarely soft. Your dreams are cluttered. Never innocent. You dream of corridors that lead nowhere, of voices without mouths, of your mother crying and pretending not to, of your marriage bed cold, wide, and covered in ash, of being pregnant, and then suddenly, alone, you wake up in sweat. You don't scream. You never scream. Instead, you stare at the ceiling, count the beams, listen for movement, and pray that if death comes tonight, it comes quickly, because you've seen slow death. It's never dignified. The shadow of your own mortality. You are young, but you are not safe. You've seen it. Girls your age buried in velvet-lined coffins, pale as wax. Women bled dry from childbirth before they ever held their babies. A duchess who coughed for 3 weeks, then stopped breathing between prayers. And every month, when the blood comes, you are reminded your life hangs by a thread. One fever, one pregnancy, one decision by a man who holds your future in his ringed hand. That's all it takes. And all your gowns, your titles, your training, they don't matter then. Only the saint, only the earth, only the name carved into the slab. And even that name might be spelled wrong. The dull, constant ache. There's also the pain you never talk about. The ache in your back from sitting upright for hours. The soreness in your fingers from endless embroidery. The tightness in your ribs from your corset. The tension in your jaw from smiling for people who make your skin crawl. These things don't kill you. They just wear you down, slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up and feel nothing, and you realize that numbness is its own kind of death, but still you sleep. Eventually your breath slows, your eyes drift. The weight of the day pulls you under. And in that in-between, that heavy quiet where dreams haven't yet arrived, you feel peace. Not because the world is safe, not because you are free, but because, for this one moment, you don't have to be anything. Not a daughter, not a bride, not a symbol, just a girl, asleep, in the dark, alive, for now. The candles have burned low. The castle is still. The wind outside the shutters has faded to a distant hum, like the earth itself has decided to rest with you. Your eyes are closed now, or almost. You're wrapped in old wool, soft linen, and the quiet echo of everything you've endured. You've made it through another day. You've survived the cold, the silence, the hunger for love. You've played the part, worn the crown, folded your hands, and swallowed every emotion you weren't allowed to feel. You were her, a princess, but not the fairy tale kind. The real kind, the kind history forgets, the kind with blisters beneath silk slippers, the kind with bruises beneath lace sleeves, the kind who suffered quietly and still smiled for the court. A life built on silence. She lived her life in a gilded box, each day measured, each breath approved. Her food was seasoned, but her words were not. Her clothes were beautiful, but her freedom was borrowed. Her room was high in the castle, but she was never truly free to look out the window and wish. She belonged to her father, then her husband, then, perhaps, to her son. She gave everything and was praised for her grace, not for her strength, not for her endurance, not for the 1,000 things she endured that no one ever knew about. But tonight, you knew, because you were her. For a little while, the weight you carried the weight of expectation, of duty, of royal blood. You kept your voice soft, even when your heart wanted to scream. You held your head high, even when it ached from the crown. You smiled when your stomach turned. You listened when your soul begged for silence. You were patient, polished, perfect, because that's what the world demanded of you. But now, you can let it go. You don't need to be perfect anymore. Not tonight, not here. Returning to yourself. That life hers is fading now. The stone walls, gone. The damp chill, just a memory. The weight of the velvet gown, lifted. The whispers behind the curtain, the pain behind the smile, the loneliness beneath the tiara, all falling, all floating away, like smoke from the last candle. You are not her anymore. You are you, back in your own bed, your own body, your own moment. There is no priest outside your door, no father with a treaty in hand, no chambermaid watching you sleep, just you, warm, safe, free. The gift of now. You don't have to perform. You don't have to prove. You don't have to survive court politics or marriage negotiations or childbirth without medicine. You don't have to be traded, measured, watched. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to carry her burden. All you have to do is breathe gently, softly, deep into the mattress that holds you, into the pillow that asks for nothing. Let your chest rise, then fall. Feel your hands go still, your jaw unclench, your thoughts slow. Let yourself feel it now, the difference. She lived in a world of stone and rules and shadows, but you live in light. You get to sleep without fear. You get to wake up without orders. You get to be you. And that is a kind of royalty all its own, a final whisper. So tonight, as you drift off, remember here. Remember the quiet strength she held, the 1,000 things she carried behind her posture and her politeness, the girl behind the title, the soul behind the smile. Remember her and be grateful that you don't live in her world. And if you ever feel pressure to be perfect, to be quiet, to be what others expect, remember how heavy that crown was and how sweet it feels to take it off. You don't have to wake up in a castle. You don't have to marry a stranger. You don't have to pretend. You just have to rest right now, right here, in warmth, in safety, in peace. So breathe in, then slowly let it out. You are free. You are whole. You are home. Sleep well, my princess.